Morning guys, James Brown here from Barton Springs Mill. Just a quick update on our sourdough starter that we started 2 days ago. Today is April 2nd, so we're just coming up on 48 hours after we mixed our flour and water together. And I thought I'd show you what mine looks like. Ours has just been sitting in the room where we shot the demo, sitting on top of the oven, which has not been on. And it doesn't have a pilot light, so it's just, and in fact, we keep it really cold here because we're packaging and processing food, so usually that room is between 65 and 68 degrees, which means the starter is going to move pretty slowly, but we've already got some good activity here. Let's see if I can show you this. You can see the bubbles here. I'm going to try to tilt this. I probably got one shot at it before I wreck it, but let's have a look. You can see the bubbles in there. Pretty good sized bubbles on the top. And it has sort of a sweet, fruity smell. And so it's well on its way. If it continues to have these kinds of bubbles and a little more expansion, I'm probably going to feed it by the end of the day today. If you're not seeing that yet, don't panic. It can take longer. Keep in mind, I'm in a flour mill. We've got flour everywhere, tiny bits of flour in the air, lots of people milling around and sort of keeping indigenous yeast that comes in on the surface of the wheat probably suspended in the air. So we're a hotbed of yeast activity, wild yeast activity here. So it may take you a little longer at home to get yours started. I've noticed too that if people that have problems, if they're neat freaks, if you're constantly using Clorox wipes on every surface in your kitchen, it can take you a little longer to get these things started because you don't have a lot of indigenous yeast in the air. Now, I'm not promoting that you start being a slob at home, but just understand that it's going to take a little longer. You're relying on what activity you can sort of harvest that was resident on the flour. If you're using our flour, which is milled at a very cold temperature or at a very cool temperature relative to roller milled flour, there's probably lots of good live indigenous yeast on there just waiting to get in the right situation with some water and some food to get started. Some other things you can do to help the process along. Chlorine in the water, if you're taking water directly from the tap, will not necessarily kill your starter, but it might slow it a little bit. What I usually do is I take my water from my refrigerator that has a carbon filter on it, and I'll sit it in a vessel on the countertop overnight. Depending on the efficacy of your filtering system on your refrigerator, it may or may not remove the chlorine, but certainly leaving it in an open vessel overnight on the kitchen counter will allow the chlorine to off-gas. And you're just giving the yeast a little extra leg up by not putting anything in there that would slow it down. The other thing you can do is slightly warm the water. In the wintertime, when I'm trying to move my starter along, I'll put it in the microwave and warm it slightly since it's been sitting on the counter and I'm not getting it directly from the tap to about 80 to 85 degrees. And things really start jumping then. If you do that and you feed it also with a little bit of rye, boy, it really goes to town. So those are a couple of extra tips. If your starter doesn't look like my starter right now, don't freak out. Just hang in there, and let's check back in another day or two. Hopefully by the end of this week or at the latest beginning of next week, Abby and I'll have another video up about the regular feeding and maintenance of your starter, and then soon after that, what you can do with it. So please stay safe, stay healthy out there, and we'll talk to you again soon.